Hello Stampin' Friends, this is Jeannie Moss, the Bluegrass Stamper. I'm here in the Bluegrass state of Kentucky. Welcome to my studio. Today's project is going to be this turtly cute book fold card. So this is what we're going to make today. You'll need supplies to do this. I'm going to be using some supplies from the Turtly Cute Sweet collection. The bundle, the Turtly Awesome bundle, that's this one. And it has dies to go with it. So there are all these dies plus the ones I'll be using today. And I'll show you those as we go along. So we'll be using this. There's also, in the suite, there is a whole set of DSP. Some of the DSPs, like this one, you can cut out some of the turtles with the dies. The dies will fit on some of these, but we have a lot of choices for this. This one actually has panels. Let me pull that out so you can see it. So it has a lot of different panels that you could use for your cards or your scrapbooking. There are there's 12 sheets. They're double-sided, so there's 6 different 12 patterns because there are 12 sheets and then 2 of each. So this is the DSP. There is also ribbon. Get rid of this. This is shaded spruce and soft sea foam. So on one side it has shaded spruce, on the other side soft sea foam. It has embellishments. These are the hexagon shades of green hexagons. We are not using those today, nor are we using the ribbon. But we will be using the DSP, the designer series paper, and the stamps and the dies. We're going to be using Granny Apple Green. This is a half sheet of cardstock cut vertically. So it is 4 1/4 by 11. We're going to score it at 4 1/4 and 5 1/2. So we've got 2 scores. We've got 2 4-inch squares of basic white. You really only need 1 of these. This, you could just use scraps because this is what I'm going to use for my stamping and cutting. I had this, we did this card in class, and so they all had a piece to stamp and cut on, but you could just use your scraps. We've got a piece of that designer series paper that looks like the tortoise shell. We've got a 4 by 4 piece of garden green. And we've got a 1/2 inch by 2 inch piece of that designer series paper with the stripes. And the other thing we have is a piece of the 2-tone Granny Apple Green cardstock. And I've gone ahead and cut that. So I don't know that you can tell on here, but it is lighter on one side than the other. Let me grab another one so you can see that difference maybe. So can you see the difference? Like that's the light sides and the dark sides. And there's the dark and the light. So it's not a big difference, but there are two sides of this. This is new. We have this in all of our colors now, and it's a white core paper, and I'll be telling you a little bit more about that as we go along. So this hexagon, I got that from this Meant to Be bundle. This bundle with all the cute little bees. It has all of these cute little dies, but it also has a set of hexagons. And there are 5 hexagons. And the one I used, this is the middle size. So there are ones that 2 larger and 2 smaller than this. And when I cut this out, I actually got this centerpiece, but I also got a frame. Now we didn't use the frame for this project, but I did collect all of them from class because I had already cut this for them. So I have all these little frames that I can use on a future project. So that's the dies. from this set, meant to be. All right, well, let's get started. So I've told you we're going to do some stamping. So let's get that out of the way. I'm going to bring my foam pad in. And on this piece, like I told you before, this could be a scrap of paper because we're just die cutting. We're going to stamp and die cut these images, so they could be on anything. And I'm stamping them with Memento Tuxedo Black, just our kind of basic black ink. So I have our turtle. I'm going to stamp the hooray, and I'm going to put him down on this end because I want to cut him out with a die. So I don't want him too close to the edges because I am going to cut it out. I've got a balloon. And I have a party hat. And that can go anywhere on here. So those are the 4 that we'll be cutting out. I don't know if you noticed on my card, but there are some little birds down here in the corner. And I'm going to go ahead and stamp those now. So I'm just going to ink that up. Put them down in the corner. So that's the birds. And so on the inside of the card, that's going to be that other 4x4 panel. We will stamp, hope your birthday is totally awesome. Can't really see if I'm getting it straight or not. It's hard to stamp when you're on video and you don't want to get your head in the way. And then I have these 3 little flowers, and I do want to stamp those off the edge. So I'm going to bring in a piece of scrap paper just so that I don't stamp and get ink on my foam pad. And I'm just going to stamp 3 flowers. And that is it for stamping. Put my ink pad away. And I'm going to grab some of our blends markers. So what I'm using, I have the Granny Apple Green, I have Daffodil Delight, and I have the Real Red. So I'm going to use the Real Red. This is the light Real Red. And I'm going to color just the little petals of the flowers. And I am not going to make you watch me do all of the coloring. I'm going to tell you that right now. I'm going to color this because I want to put it in the card. But all those turtles and things, I'm not going to make you watch all that. I know your time is valuable, and I try to respect that. This is the dark Daffodil Delight. That's going to go in the centers. And then I'll use the light Granny Apple Green to color the leaves. And that is it for the coloring on this piece. So this piece is ready to go. Now on this one, I colored the turtle all in this light Granny Apple Green. Like I said, I promise you I'm not going to make you watch all this, but he is colored in light Granny Apple Green. And then I went back and added a little bit of darker, a little bit more to make it darker along the edges. So I added a little extra here and here. So everything on this, the belly, the arms, the legs, and the spots was done in this light Granny Apple Green. And then his shell, not including the spots, was done with the dark Granny Apple Green. And I actually used a a little bit different color, but I would have preferred the dark granny apple green. So you can see the shell is a little bit different color. I think I used, what did I use? Old Olive on this card. But if I was doing it again, I would just use the dark granny apple green on here. So there's not so many colors. Colored the balloon red. I also added some Wink of Stella to that. I'm not sure if you can see that in the video. And then I cut these out. Oh, the party hat was done with the daffodil and then the red spots. And then I gave him a little manicure. So I put the red on his little toenails. Now, one thing that's really cool about these dies is when you cut them out, there's a slot cut around his arm. Now, I've glued mine down so you really can't see it, but this actually would open up so that you could put something in his hand. So can you see what I'm talking about there? It's all the way around. So on the die, here it is. So you can see that it will cut that slit around his arm so you could put something in his hand here. So again, I'm not going to make you watch that, but I did take my dies, my coordinating dies, and I cut these pieces out. And then I took this die, which is from the Stylish Shapes dies, to cut out my hooray. So those pieces have all been cut out already. So I'm going to put that out of the way. We don't need to deal with that anymore. Okay, so I have already cut those out, and I have those pieces right here. Oh, here I can show you that arm. So here, see how that opens up? So you can put something in his hand, in this hand if you want to. You could put it back here behind, in the arm, behind the hand. We're going to be putting ours over there, but there we go. So we've got all these pieces cut out and ready to go. So let's get started on the card. So on the card, we scored that piece at 4 1/4 and 5 1/2. So now what we are going to do is I'm going to take my glue and I'm going to add glue between these two score lines. I folded my card in half, and then that 4 1/4 score line, that one's going to be on the front. So I'm opening that up. I'm going to put glue in between these two score lines. Now don't use a whole ton of glue. Use it kind of as light as you can. Don't use a really thick stream of it. It just works better if it's just a little bit of glue. So you can see mine's not a big thick glob of glue. And then we're going to close that card and seal that. And that's what gives us our book fold. So now we have the piece that we stamped already, and that is going to be the inside of the card. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in, and I'll just put that in with some of my seal, just because it's easy. We've got a little 1/8 of an inch border on all 4 sides. We'll just put that inside. That's the inside of our card. On the outside, we have this piece, but before we put it on, we're going to take that little strip and we're just going to cut that in half with our scissors. And it doesn't have to be perfect because it's going to be hidden anyway. And we're going to glue these on either side. So like I said, I was doing this in a class. If you were doing this yourself, you could just cut you a 4-inch strip. But I was trying to be frugal because, I have a lot of class participants, and I don't want to buy a whole lot of packages of DSP for a class. So we'll just take that, and you can eyeball it, or you can get a ruler, something, and lay up there to kind of help you measure if you want. That's totally up to you. I don't really care if it's all that perfect. So there's our 2 pieces of that. And then we're going to take this piece and we're going to add it to the front of our card. So that's just going to get glued right on, or I'm going to use seal actually, and put that right on the front of our card. A little border all the way around. While I'm at it, I'll go ahead and add this piece of the designer series paper. And I'm going to use glue on that one. Don't ask me why, but I might want to slide it around a little bit to get it centered, and it's easier if you do that with glue. So that has a little bit of a border too. I kind of want to line that up with that green, that dark green, the garden green. So see, I can slide that around a little bit till I get it like I want it. And now I'm ready to add this piece. And we'll just be putting it on like this. But before I do that, I want to talk to you about this cardstock. Again, this is the two-tone cardstock. So it has a lighter side and a darker side. But the thing that is really cool about this is that it is a white core paper. Now what I mean by that, this is a solid core paper. So it is green. It's the same color all the way through the cardstock. If you rip it, you're going to have the same color all the way through. This is a white core cardstock. So it has the lighter color on one side, the darker color on the other, and in the middle it is white. So the cool thing about that is we can take this piece that we've embossed and we can take a little sanding block and we can start to sand that. And when we do sand that, can you see some of the white starting to peek through? So I just did it a little bit. I didn't want to add a whole lot to that. But there, now you can see some of the white peeking through as opposed to just the plain cardstock. So it gives it a little bit more texture. And what we'll do is put this on the front of our card. So now, let's see here. I'm going to put that on like that, and I'm just going to go ahead and use my glue. I've got it right here. And on embossed pieces, because they have those raised images, sometimes it's better to use some glue because you can get down in those little nooks and crannies. So I'm going to put this on here. Kind of center it on there, stick it down. And now we're ready to start our embellishment. I want to add some twine over here to the side. So this piece is, let's see, it's probably about 16 to 17 inches long. And what I've done, I have something called a crocodile. I don't know if you know what that is. It's a tool that we used to carry, and oh, I wish we still did. But it's a tool that looks like this, but it does hole punching. But any hole punch that you have will work for this. But what we're doing, we're gonna make a little place for that twine to live, so that it won't slide off of our card. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold this up so that I can see it. I'm putting this in the hole punch about a halfway. I'm centering it between. So you can see I've got a little bit of an indentation right there. Can you see that? Then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. And now I can take my twine and I can tie it around there. And I'm going to go ahead and just tie it in a knot. And so that's kind of hard to do when you're by yourself, when you don't have somebody to put their finger there. So just bear with me for a second while I fiddle with this to tie my knot. All right, there's my knot. So now I can slide this wherever I want it. And now I can tie my bow. And I like to tie a knot on these first because now it's not going anywhere. Because I put those little notches, it can't slide back and forth on the card. So that's just a little trick for you when you're using twine and you have a spot where you can put some notches. So there's the bow. And now I am ready to embellish this card. So I'm going to take these pieces that I have already cut and I'm going to put dimensionals on the back of those. So I'm going to put one, and I'm going to put one here because I don't want that hand to be flopping around, the one that's cut. I'm going to put one at the bottom. Well, you may not be able to see that. Let me come down a little bit. And then I'm going to use some, do I have some minis? Yeah, I'm going to use some of the minis. Put a little mini behind his head, and I'm going to put a little mini behind his hand. Well, maybe I will. All right, then I'm going to put one behind our balloon. Put a couple behind the greeting. And then I'll use another one of those little minis. In fact, I might even just, I think what I'm going to do is just cut a tiny little piece off of one of the edges to put behind that party hat, because it's kind of small. So this is where you can make your own dimensionals and make them the size that you want them to be. So there's that one. So we will put our turtle. We'll start with him. We want to make sure we leave room at the top for the balloon and his little party hat. So we're going to put him about right here. Pretty much about centered, I'd say. And then the balloon we'll put on. We want to put that in his hand, so we'll put it here. Line it up in his hand and then put it down. And then what I'll do is take just a little touch of glue and put on the tail of that balloon so that it won't be moving around. So I'm going to have to hold that down for a second so that that seals down. And we have the hooray. We'll put it right down here. I don't want to cover up my little bird's head, so let me get it up a little bit. And then the little party hat is next, and it will go right up here by his head. And the only other thing I added to this card was some embellishments, and I think I probably lost those because I felt something come off in my lap earlier. But I added 3 little, I'll probably find them later, but I added 3 little basic rhinestone jewels colored with the real red blend. So here's the card. We've just made the second card. And on the inside it says, hope your birthday is turtly awesome, with some cute little flowers. So I hope that you have enjoyed this project. I hope you'll get a chance to make it. I'd love to hear from you. If you have any questions, my email address is bluegrassstamper@gmail.com. I have a website, www.bluegrassstamper.com. If you hop over to my website, a little blue button's going to pop up and ask you if you want a free tutorial. If you click on that, put in your name and email address, you'll get a free tutorial instantly in your email. You'll also be signing up for my email newsletter, and I send out a free tutorial each week. So thank you for joining me today, and I hope to hear from you. Bye.